Good morning, folks. Down the basement again to proceed with my spoons. This is going to be the second part of my little tutorial. Here are the spoons that I'm going to plate with glitter flakes. I've already buffed the surface, cleaned it with mineral spirit, and now I'm going to apply a layer of epoxy and sprinkle glitter on it. Alright, I've got different colors: gold, copper, green and blue. So you will see the way that I'm doing it. You know, I'm not making big amounts of lures, so I don't work with jigs a lot. It's just not worthwhile to make jigs to make processes faster. There may be better ways to get through the working processes, but I just do it this way as shown. Maybe I could provide some input for the fellow lure makers out there. Okay. At first I would mix my epoxy. I'm using such medication cups. They have a milliliter scale, so mixing the epoxy comes quite accurate. It has a relation of resin 100 shares and hardener 45 shares. Oops, that's a bit too much. Okay, put some back. So usually I'm only mixing about 4.5 to 6 milliliters, because this epoxy has a curing time of a processing time of only 20 minutes, so I cannot apply too much of it at one time anyway. So I need to have this thing set now to be able to view the scale. Okay, I'll stop this. The epoxy requires very thorough mixing. I like to stir it for 1.5 minutes or so. After, let it set for a minute, and then I'll start working with it. I might not be able to do the entire bunch of lures with this mix because it has a very short processing time of 20 minutes. I'm using this one for my hard baits and timber lures as well, because I do not have a lure rotator. So the short curing time is of advantage in terms of dripping. Won't happen with the spoons because I lay them flat to dry, but if you're hanging crankbaits or glide baits to dry, dripping does occur. But with this stuff I would only have to switch them a couple of times from head to tail to prevent the dripping. After, well, 30 to 40 minutes it would have set enough not to drip anymore. Okay, now let's wait for some time. Meantime, I can open one of the glitter bins, which is copper. I hope I will not make any mess in front of the camera because I'm kind of camera shy maybe. So I'm using a piece of folded paper to collect the glitter reminders and put them back in the bin after the spoon would have been covered. So mix it real thoroughly. Should be enough now. So now I'm working against the clock. So this is where I would slide my spoons upon. And so let's start. I'm just using a wire hook to hold them this way. I would have to repeat the process. Yeah, that's not good. That's what I wanted to avoid, dripping epoxy onto the paper. So I must look after full coverage of the spoon with epoxy. I'll litter this one. Take another one. Okay. And now the spoon has been covered. So I'm sprinkling on the glitter particles straight from the bin. Okay. Shake off loose particles. And now place the spoon on a plate. In this case it's a piece of cardboard. Okay. Another one with copper. Got the brush in my mouth. So I would not paint, not apply the epoxy over the paper anymore. I hope you can see something now. This is multitasking, taking care of the camera. You know, I can't afford to waste time. That's the problem, because of the short processing time of the epoxy. Okay. Knocking off the loose particles, and again carefully placing it on a board. Okay, I'll do one more in copper, I guess. One of these large ones. Okay. Naturally, I do not want the polished reverse sides to be covered with epoxy, but nevertheless, if some glitter particles should get to the reverse side, it's quite easy to scrape them off later when the epoxy is cured, because the reverse sides are polished. It will not adhere that well. So, fully covered. You always hold the spoon blank somewhat canted like this, so the particles would slide down the length of the spoon. Okay, now shake off loose particles again. Oops, this one is finicky. Slender shape. Damn, could do it the other way. Yep. Oh. Okay, I lost that one. Made myself so this thing sticks. I'm gonna wipe it off a bit. Anyway, you would always get some particles in your clothes, your hair, everywhere. People might be asking you whether you went to the disco or carnival or something. So putting back the reminders, shake all off, because I'm now switching colors to let's do a blue one. And there's still space for one there. Alright, do this one in blue, another piece of wire. Okay, I guess this is the last one that I will do in front of the camera, because it's a repetitive process. Apart from different colors of glitter, nothing would change. You know, this paper that I laid underneath, it's kinked to make up for a kind of funnel that you can gather back most of the glitter particles. Okay. So I said before, hold it like this. Cant it so that the particles would slide down the length of the lure. Sorry for my talking, I've got the paint hanger in my mouth. Shake off the reminders and lay this thing down. Oops, to dry. Okay, I'll put the camera off now and do all the rest. Alright. Forgot to mention, the sense of all this procedure is to keep glitter particles away from the paintbrush, as I do not want too many particles to end up in the liquid epoxy, because the more you do not want any colors to get onto spoons that will be made later afterwards. See, I didn't take care on this one. Some spots uncovered. That's not good. I will have to do a second one anyway. No, you see, I didn't take care, some spots are uncovered. Okay, I'll try to put some epoxy there. Possibly avoiding too many particles to get into my brush. I would have to do a second process anyway tomorrow. Okay, now there's one more spot that I could put this thing on. Very careful not to let it fall. Okay, I will stop the camera now. I'm now done plating all spoons that I wanted to plate. I found that this top of a cardboard box is not very rigid, so it's better to use this old kitchen cutting board for drying. I would carefully slide them onto it. You need to be very careful not to mess up in the end. I guess I said it before, we will need a second process for full coverage. Okay? Because not all would bind to the spoons now. I will leave it for 24 hours to cure now and proceed tomorrow. Here are some spots uncovered that I forgot to apply epoxy to. And what I would do after curing, after 24 hours, I would gently stroke my finger over the surface to break loose any loose particles, because I do not want too many particles of different color inside of the epoxy bin, because then you mix it, you will not get a solid color. You would have differently colored glitter particles on the spoon, so then I do not like the mixing. I want solid colors. But I discovered here's a spot uncovered here, and a second process is always better. And well, I said before, you could do this to timber baits as well. You would need maybe double times as much top coats to get the smooth surface and for epoxy to flow in between every single gaps. I've done lures like this maybe 10 years ago or so, fishing them every year, and this glitter finish is very durable. I can't say something else. For average fishing, I mean, I do not fish waters with a lot of rocks in it or so, but they may come off at the particular where the attachment rings are, but the split rings. But all in all, I'm quite satisfied with this. But you need to take care to wipe them down with mineral spirit, so that there will not be any grease from your fingers left, or polishing paste reminders that would prevent the proper adhesion of the epoxy. Okay, I'll put these ones away, go and wash my glittery hands, and then I'll proceed applying adhesive foil onto the other spoons. Okay, see you. Okay, now I'm going to decorate two of the plain polished spoons with adhesive foil. Here's one in a night glow pattern. I'm using the templates of the spoon that I used to mark the outline of the spoons. I would also use them on this foil. If I had more spoons of one kind, I would make a cardboard template, downscaled. So, but for this too, it's not really worthwhile to do this. So draw the outline. Now I would, okay, attachment holes are about here, so I would just draw free-handed about parallel to the outline of the spoon. As I said, if I had more of one kind, I would have done it on thin cardboard, but for just one spoon it's not worthwhile, and I do not know whether I would make more of this type. Okay, now I will cut it out. Just notice that I'm about to run out of lure tape, and the stuff is hard to get over here. I mean, a good choice, so I guess I would have to place an order overseas soon for new foil. Okay. Or I would go for the more elaborate glitter flake plating, or simply paint them. Alright, what is important is, because of the cupping of the spoon, you will make cuts from the outside to the inside. This is to prevent this rather stiffish foil or tape from wrinkling on the spoon. I hope you can see it on video now, all these cuts. Okay, now I'm going to apply it. Wipe down the spoon. It has been cleaned with mineral spirit before. Okay, I'm peeling off a bit. Now grabbing it with tweezers and carefully peeling off the backing. If your foil is too thin, it might tear because of the cuts you've made. Okay, now you gotta take care to position it right. Okay, I'm off. I am off. Have to realign it. For the fish, it's not important, but for the angler's eye. So now you carefully press it on and take care where your cuts are. You go from the center to the outside with pressing it on. You created some kind of flaps by making these cuts. So especially here in the rear cupping, they are overlapping now. Now you take your rag and press it on. Depending on the quality of your lure tape, this thing will last. Some years ago I wanted to remove such a foil, and I really had a tough time getting it off again, even with a strong solvent. Okay, that's it. And I like to decorate my spoons with lure eyes. Oops, camera shy display effect. and put a little eye on it. But anyway, if you apply foil to spoons or spinner blades, make sure, here's the backing, make sure you make these cuts leading from the outside to the inside. This is to avoid wrinkling, especially at the deeper cupping at the rear. The foil it is overlapping. See, one is bulging up here, but that's not good. You may want to cut it so that you can really press it onto the metal. They don't come off very easy, but it really depends on the quality of the foil you're using. Okay, I'll switch off the camera now and do a second one. It's a repetitive process, do not have to display this as well. Alright. Okay, what is left to do for today is that I could already assemble beads to these 3 lures, which are not treated with epoxy or something. So I have 4 lengths of 1mm stainless wire. So I kink off one end to about 90 degrees. Okay. Now place a bead. Insert it like this. Now take my pliers at the level of the second hole and bend down the second tag at 90 degrees. Repeat with the second bead, because this lure has 2 bead eyes. You might as well use 1mm brass wire. I just have lots of this stainless steel wire around. Copper wire is not suited, it's too soft. Okay, now you will insert your wire form, bend back the tag ends and snip them off short enough not to touch the bead, like this. Guess this one is a bit too long. And now take your pliers and press them down. Make sure you put your pliers against the wire on the other side, not against the spoon surface, not to scratch it. So the second one, bend it down, out. That's a hole in the thumb. Blood must flow, otherwise your lures won't catch. Now press them down again, squeeze together real tight. Okay, that's the bead eye attachment. As I said, make sure when pressing the tag ends together, engage your pliers to the wire here, not to the spoon, not to scratch the surface. So far so good. So I'm gonna do the rest without the camera. Alright. Okay people, this was the second part of my little video. Got done so far. Apart from the glitter plated spoons, here the annealed ones rigged with a glow in the dark bead. Here two plated with adhesive foil and fluorite. The other two spoons with beads attached as eyes. And finally another one annealed. What's left to do now is to do the second covering with glitter flakes. You know, I've told you the first process did not achieve full coverage. Also, if full coverage with glitter flakes is achieved on the other spoons, I must still apply 2, 3 or maybe even 4 more epoxy top coats. And one big thing left to do is to dress the trebles, which I do not have any experience. I'm gonna do this with feathers. I do have them here. You know, from my spinners I still have multicolored feathers, and also bought myself this stuff here from fly tying. I think it's called flashaboo, but I'm not no sparkle hair. Not very sure. Never worked with this thing before. I was too stingy to buy bucktail fur. I guess feathers will do as well. So that would be the final challenge on these spoons. Don't know if I have time to proceed tomorrow, but I will definitely film the entire procedure of this bunch of spoons till the very end. So there will be a third and maybe even a fourth part. Probably I would also do a bathtub swimming test in the end when the epoxy of the glitter plated lures would have cured. Okay, thanks a lot for your interest, and tune back in for further parts of this video. See ya, goodbye.